America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
and by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture.
A bakery in Egypt churning out thousands of loaves of bread a day. A California hairstylist using the hottest new product on the market. And a Moroccan farmer changing the way he raises his cattle. Yes, they are all connected to American farming.
America's Heartland ventures to Egypt and beyond to discover the world of global food and grain trade.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
It's a sunny summer morning in southern Ohio. David Ream's winter wheat harvest is going strong. The weather has cooperated this year, and Ream and his son are busy bringing in a good crop of soft red winter wheat.
My grandfather started farming this community in 1930, so we've been here for 79 years. This is the fourth generation out there in the combine.
Besides wheat, the Reams also grow corn and soybeans, which he'll be harvesting in the fall. Today's wheat gets taken to a local grain elevator.
A lot of this wheat is going to probably go to the East Coast or down the Ohio River, export markets.
It's a system that involves trade deals, tariffs, cultural preferences, and regional conflicts. By himself, Dave Ream plays a small part, but as we'll learn, as part of a group effort that brings together the collective resources of the United States farmers, it's an important part. It's 11 o'clock at night at the Khan El Khalili market in Cairo, Egypt. The Islamic celebration of Ramadan is about to begin. This market is bustling with activity. We've traveled 6,000 miles from Ream's Ohio farm to learn more about overseas agricultural trade. Dave Ream is getting some haggling help for this Egyptian ode from our guide, Hisham El Edwi. His familiarity with the market, culture, and language mean a much better deal on the instrument for Dave than he would get if he negotiated on his own. It's a small-scale version that Dave and Sue will witness over and over again on our journey at poultry farms in Morocco and Egyptian feedlots. Opportunities for U.S. trade are opened up through working to understand the local cultures and customs. We get a taste of one important cultural moray watching traditional baladi bread stacked up by the crateful at the Grand Cairo Bakery. Bread is extremely important in this country. The origins of leavened bread can be traced back to ancient Egypt along the Nile River. Today, bakeries churn out loaves by the millions. This bakery alone produces 500,000 loaves a day.
500,000 loaves would feed how many families?
يعني بيقول لك مثلا نص مليون رغيف كده ياكلوا كم اسره يعني.
متوسط الفرد 5 رغيف يومي.
Each person would consume about 5 loaves a day.
5 loaves per person per day.
The consumption of wheat in Egypt is very high. roughly 3 times that is the consumption in the U.S.
The Grand Cairo Bakery is subsidized by the government. Government Baladi bread sells for about 1 U.S. cent per loaf. Because families here live on just a few dollars a day, keeping the price of bread down is a top government priority. Rising bread prices or bread shortages have led to violent riots in the past. While government-run bread is a huge percentage of the market, there are growing opportunities for private bakers and millers. One young entrepreneur is Osama Nasser. He owns Flourland, a mill and biscuit company. One of his growing markets, milled flour products for American-owned restaurants.
These are special packs for, who do these go to?
There's one for 10 kilos goes to Kentucky, and one for 11 kilos goes to Pizza Hut.
Kentucky, you mean Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yeah, right.
And Pizza Hut?
Yeah, it's the same company.
Here at the Flourland mill near Cairo, they have the capacity to produce about 500 metric tons of flour a day. That's about 5% of the total produced private flour in the country. Now you throw in that government subsidy flour as well, and you got a lot of sifting.
Egypt imports upwards of 8 million metric tons a year of wheat. But right now, very little U.S. wheat is being imported into Egypt. Why? One word: price.
At the end of the day, I mean, price is still a king.
Shannon Schlecht works for U.S. Wheat Associates, a nonprofit organization that works to build the market for wheat grown in the United States.
When we look at American wheat from the Gulf of Mexico, it takes longer for wheat to sail from the U.S. than it does from Europe or from the Black Sea. So the geographic distance does impact the landed price.
So if it's such a challenging market for U.S. producers to capture, why even try to get American wheat into a market like Egypt?
It's a very big market, so even if we could get 50% of this market, still 4 million tons of wheat is a lot of bushels of wheat that can move into Egypt.
So U.S. wheat growers look for specific types of wheat that are grown in the United States, like the soft red winter wheat that Dave was harvesting in Ohio, used here at Flourland for biscuits. An early lesson in the importance of price. Just like at the neighborhood store, customers overseas are looking for the best value when it comes to imports. At our next stop, we discover another important element. Modernizing agricultural practices opens up opportunities for U.S. growers. This is Dina Farm, a huge farming operation known across Egypt. On 10,000 acres of desert, growing everything from peanuts to dates to citrus, this irrigated farm is a model for agriculture growth in Egypt. The farm owners emulate U.S. agricultural practices to improve productivity, irrigating crops and using new technologies. The farm is getting assistance from Dr. Hussein Solomon, the Egypt director for the U.S. Grains Council. The council is an organization that works to develop overseas grain markets. While more than half of the 4.6 million dairy cattle in Egypt are raised on small farms, the council is helping farms like Dina grow larger and modernize.
In the past, we don't have this culture or mentality which work on the mass production of the animal production.
Dina's plans to expand to 10,000 milking cows. But as we discover, cultural traditions are important. In Egypt, about half of the milk comes from water buffalo. And increasing U.S. grain imports depends on expanding that market. A visit to a traditional farm shows us why that's a challenge. This is Mahmoud Abbas's farm in Saft El Laban, Giza. It's in the center of a metropolitan area surrounded by residential and commercial buildings. It's really an amazing sight to see, one that you won't find in the United States. High-rise buildings surrounding a water buffalo operation. I mean, you can literally see the mounds of grain to feed the water buffalo right in the heart of the city. Inside concrete and brick buildings are animals, cramped and in the dark. Not good conditions for milk production. Farms like this one are located throughout Egypt's city centers.
What would you say the biggest challenge is with running a farm like this here in the middle of the city?
ايه الصعوبات اللي بتواجهك هنا بانك انت تدير المزرعه بتاعتك هنا في وسط المدينه يعني؟
الضوضاء مشاكل المباني الناس التلوث.
He's worried about the buildings coming closer to the farm, and he's worried about the environment, and they will start complaining about environmental pollution.
There are other drawbacks to this kind of farming. It takes a good deal of labor to watch after the animals, and these conditions invite disease. 70% of the water buffalo farms in Egypt are this type of closed system. And if Abbas is feeding his buffalo better, he's using more of Dave's corn.
Oh, so you do use American corn?
But to expand, Abbas needs to move his farming operation outside of the city. This is the type of water buffalo farm that Mahmoud Abbas could one day operate, away from the city with open-air pens and modern facilities. If these weren't water buffalo, the reams could be in any modern-style farm in the U.S.
How many head do you feed a year?
In a year, about 500 in this feedlot.
In the early 1990s, with U.S. assistance, a bank was developed to help farmers improve and expand their operations. Buffalo producers have also banded together to form a national association. Sadan El-Hayini is the president of that association.
Well, I tell you something. This has helped Egyptian to eat more red meat, because imagine that if you slaughter an animal while the weight is 140 pounds, you are getting about 35, 40 pounds of red meat. And then if you fatten the animal up to 1,000, then you are getting about 600 pounds of meat.
That's good news for farmers. But Hussein Solomon says the economic benefits go far beyond the feedlot.
So it changes the life. It creates jobs, not only in feedlots and feed mills and slaughterhouses and associated services like transportation and so on and so forth. Cooperation with people is the best way to strengthen a relationship.
It's evident that efforts like the Egypt Water Buffalo program are having an impact on the ground here. It's a model similar to Agricultural Extension Service in the United States. Enlist well-known farmers in a region to help develop new methods and showcase them throughout the agriculture community. Once other farmers see the success, they want to copy it.
It's not only just an investment by American corn growers or U.S. wheat growers in changing the way they do things, but it's actually an investment by the local people here. This is these are projects that they have an investment in, so they're part of the growth process.
But is it improving the market for farmers like the Reams? Do the millions of dollars that he and other farmers invest in payments that they make to trade associations pay off? Do the millions of tax dollars that you pay for trade programs benefit us? Our next stop will provide some answers. Morocco, a North African nation with vibrant cities like Casablanca, snow-capped mountains, and vast dry desert land. 40% of the 33 million people here live in rural areas. Incomes in these areas are based largely on agriculture, and the majority of people living in these areas are poor.
This is the open-air market in Gourdan, Morocco. Take a look around. Farmers bring their cattle here 1, 2, 3 at a time, and they auction them off. Think about the challenges that you face when trying to change this sort of activity. It's been done this way here for centuries.
Every farmer who needs to cash in money would bring in 1 or 2 or more animals to the market to sell, and with the cash he will buy things that are needed for the family for the rest of the week or even beyond.
Folks will see this and they'll think it looks like a step back in time.
Yeah, for sure. This is the banking system in the rural communities in this part of the world is still very rudimentary.
For dairy farmers like Amusin Muhammad, the long-established customs and markets are a way of life. He purchased 3 milking cows in 1995. Small farmers like Muhammad often barely get by on their own. But look around his small farm and you see signs of change and a better life for his family. A more modern milking parlor, expanded barns for the cows, a new addition for his home, complete with a personal computer.
Are you happy with the success that you've had? You've really grown pretty considerably.
Yeah. Thanks to God, indeed we had improved, dairy production has improved our lives a lot.
Muhammad intends to someday have 80 milking cows. He credits his membership in a dairy cooperative for improving his bottom line and ultimately his family's life. Dairy farmers bring their milk to cooperatives like this regional facility near Terradont. They use credits earned for their milk to shop in the cooperative store. They can find everything from bags of flour to agricultural equipment and seed. Any profits that the cooperative gets back from milk sales go right back to the farmers. We visited the country's second largest dairy processing facility to find out more about cooperatives. The facility is owned by a farmer co-op called Cooperative. It produces everything from yogurt to cartons of fresh milk. It's a modern processing facility that produces 30% of the country's milk supply. Because it's a co-op, it pays its farmer members 20% more for their milk than they get selling it elsewhere. But it doesn't stop there. In 2005, Coopag began operating a 10,000-head cattle feedlot with financial help from the U.S. Grains Council. Members of the Coopag Cooperative can send their calves here to grow in a better environment and be more profitable for farmers when they're returned to them.
You look at this feedlot. One feedlot in Morocco is not significant in the grand scheme of things. But what this feedlot will do is it's going to revolutionize beef production in Morocco. It's going to make beef much more affordable, accessible to the consumer.
A visit to a farm near El Jadida shows us the past, present, and potential future for cattle farming here. Abdel Fattah Amar is converting his operation from confined tethered cattle to a modern open-style feedlot. Mustafa explains why.
Research has shown that animals that are free can gain better, and it's better meat quality, better market values.
Look, we're not here to impose a production practice or a model that is a U.S. model, but what we're trying to do is to improve their production practices.
And the desert sands of Morocco seem like the unlikeliest of places for cultures intersecting, but it's happening right here, where goats climb argan trees to munch on leaves and nuts. Then the goat farmers pick up the digested nut core off the ground one by one. These nuts get cracked and pressed to get the oil inside, and that oil is now used as one of the hottest beauty products on the market. You'll find high-end salons like this one near Sacramento, California, using the oil for hair treatment.
So Sue, here's the argan nut. You're going to try to press this, maybe take it home and press it for some oil, for some cosmetics, right?
They tell me that just one nut makes so little oil that I would need very, very many
Quite
to
a few.
get any kind of product out of it. And I probably will understand now why it is so expensive.
And maybe buy it this time to support the farmer,
Yeah, there
right?
you go. I'll do that.
And thanks to the cooperative that farmers belong to, women from the area are employed at facilities like this one near Agadir, improving lives in this poor rural region. So it's clear that programs are improving lives on the ground here, but are they really helping U.S. farmers? A visit to a chicken farm in Morocco provides some answers. The growth of the Moroccan poultry industry is tied to U.S. efforts in the 1990s. That's when the U.S. Grains Council helped poultry farmers form an association. The chicken farmers lobbied the government to reduce corn import tariffs. Now modern-style poultry operations like this one are popping up across the countryside. Khardin Susi is the association's president.
You know, anytime you're asking people to change the way they do things that they've been doing for generations, it's a challenge. That's the way it is around the world. Has it been a challenge to convince people to adopt these practices?
Yes, it's always a challenge to, you know, people naturally doesn't like change. We have the resistance to change. But if you show them by a calculation, a small calculation, that if they invest X, they will get more money. So it takes some time, but we have good results.
Today, Morocco imports 1.8 million tons of corn. That's up from less than 400,000 before the tariff was reduced. The corn is imported to places like the Al Sahel feed mill near Al Jadida. It's rare for U.S. farmers like Dave Ream to talk directly with millers like the owners here at Al Sahel, but today he gets to hear just how busy they've been importing grain.
Since 2005, basically they work 24 hours a day, seven days a week, non-stop.
And that translates into higher grain prices for farmers and evidence agricultural trade associations say of the success of their overseas efforts. In fact, a recent study found that for every dollar farmers like Dave Ream invest in these programs, they get back 37 in income. But developing overseas markets is a long-term investment with payoff that isn't always immediate. Evidenced as we explore the market for wheat in Morocco. Here, Casablanca residents bring their wheat to small neighborhood mills to be milled for baking at home. The raw wheat arrives by bike, car.
They're even bringing wheat in a taxi.
Yeah, especially because, you know, I said that the area, you know, where traditional meals are found in popular areas, so people do not have cars or so they bring, you know, they buy wheat 1 kilo or more, and then they put it for, it's a culture.
On first blush, it's hard to see where large-scale efforts could find a market for U.S. wheat imports in this kind of system. But compare the traditional corner mill to the Tria mill not far away.
We just came from a small neighborhood mill where they were grinding 10 or 20 kilos of wheat. What's the difference between what we're that and what we're seeing now?
Orders of magnitude. This is 1,000 times bigger.
This is where U.S. wheat producers see a growing opportunity, and it's why in 1994 U.S. Wheat Associates invested millions of dollars to partner in a wheat milling school in Casablanca. Similar to the situation in Egypt, the U.S. can't compete on price against closer producers, but the school here helps millers recognize and utilize the value of specific types of higher quality wheat to be milled for specialty breads and pastries.
The technology we learned from the school teach us how to deal with the two standards and the two wheats to get a good quality product.
Warm bread.
The Reams got to sample some of the pastries that are becoming popular as incomes rise in Morocco's metropolitan areas. Corner bakeries like this one with high-end pastry products are popular. Moroccans eat more than twice as many wheat-based products per capita than people in the United States. So even if the overall market share for U.S. wheat is just over 10%, it adds up to more than 11 million bushels of wheat a year. From Egyptian water buffalo to Moroccan pastries, as economies around the world improve, so does the market for U.S. agricultural products. And as Dave and Sue Ream discovered, it's a complicated story that requires long-term commitment and working to improve methods, but not impose beliefs.
I think that when I go out and look at our corn and our wheat fields, I will have a different perspective of those crops growing out there and thinking that they could actually be on somebody's table over in Egypt or Morocco in the form of a bread, or that corn could have been fed to their cattle. It just really makes you feel good about being a farmer in America and being able to have a product that can be used worldwide.
There's much more on America's Heartland at our website, including video on the stories from today's show. You can also give us your feedback. Just log on to americasheartland.org. And to order a copy of this broadcast, visit us online or call 1-888-814-3923. The cost is $14.95 plus shipping.
You can see it in the eyes of every woman and man in America's heartland, living close to the land. There's a love for the country and a pride in the brand in America's heartland, living close to the land.
America's Heartland is made possible by
They make up a small part of our population, but have a huge impact on our lives. They take business risks few others would tolerate, all on our behalf. They're American farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe the world. Monsanto would like to recognize them for all they do for the rest of us. Because ultimately, our success and everyone else's depends on theirs.
And by the American Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of agriculture.